I am going to take that as the okay, that we are live and ready to go. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Realcomp's virtual broker breakfast. Today we have some information we want to share with you. We hope that you'll find it informative. We're very appreciative that you would take time out of your day to spend this time with us, and I am confident it'll be worth your while. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to start with some information that will be shared with you from Brian Westron. He is General Counsel for Michigan Realtors, and he's going to talk a little bit about the new LARA system called, I think they say MI Plus or Michigan Plus or My Plus. I guess you can take your pick. And he's going to talk a little bit about how that will benefit you as brokers and maybe give you a couple of other updates on other topics if he has them. So welcome, Brian.
Hey, thank you, Karen. Thanks for having me. So the My Plus system migration occurred last month. And as you all remember, that led to about a 3-week shutdown by the department on accepting new licensees, which I'm most confident that most brokers on the call are aware of, because now we're in the process of making sure that the migration of those people who have passed the exam, that took the exam either prior to the migration or during the shutdown, are actively inputted into the system. It has not been without its hiccups, and some people have joked that it's less My Plus and more My Negative. And we're working with the department to kind of massage that process. So really what this boils down to is that the old system had been around for 20 plus years, was very archaic in its search functionality. And the new system is being heralded as much more smart and intuitive. But what we're experiencing right now is some of the back end and some of the search functionality is in the process of being tweaked. So for instance, one of the things that brokers and associations alike relied upon was the ability to do a search function from the outside to find out who's affiliated with whom. So if you had, a brokerage that also had other DBAs or things along those lines, and you wanted to find out exactly who was affiliated with a particular brokerage or branch office, you could do that through a search function and print out a list. When it launched a few weeks back, that function had been eliminated. So we're in the process of working with the department on improving their launch. That has been added though, so there is a way for you now to search as a member of the public, as an association, as a broker, to find out exactly who is affiliated with a respective brokerage. This obviously comes in handy when you're trying to figure out if there is an occupational code issue, or there's some sort of a complaint that is out there that needs to be addressed. We've kind of been in this process with the department where they've asked, why some of these things are important to us. And, their view has always been that if the search functionality doesn't benefit the consumer, then it really doesn't need to be there. We quickly disabuse them of the notion that it doesn't need to be there, because quite frankly, as you all know, we are often the group as realtors that end up helping the consumer identify certain things relative to the occupational code, just like the department often sends people to the Michigan Realtors legal hotline for legal advice. The other piece that really kind of rolled out in a clunky fashion was that if you had associate brokers or branch office locations, you may have been issued a new license number. And if that's the case, there isn't much to worry about. Just the explanation is that as they've identified new fields in the new My Plus system, they are issuing new license numbers for associate brokers affiliated with those offices, where they're primary, and then obviously the branch office location itself. If you're experiencing a situation where you're not showing up in the system at all, or your license is showing up as null and void, please send that information to me directly, because What I'm doing, and this has been pretty effective, is the association executives have been sending their brokers or their new licensees to me, and then I forward them on to the appropriate person at Lara and make sure that it'll get ironed out in a timely fashion, because otherwise you end up in that phone tree, for lack of a better word, phone tree hell, where you're trying to get answers, and it's just not very fast and it's not very efficient. But we've had really good response times from the department through this methodology, and I would encourage you to use your Michigan Realtors as a resource to try and get the ball moving. If you do have licensees that have recently passed the exam and they are sort of in limbo and they don't have an actual license issued yet, send those to me as well. Because while the department has said that they're manually adding those licensees on a timely basis, I have found that in most instances I can get a response where it gets taken away a little bit taken care of a little bit more quickly. If there are no, I see there are a couple things in the chat.
I'd like to encourage people, if they have a question, to use the Q&A. You'll see that little Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. And once you post the question there, I'm sorry I didn't mention it sooner, we'll get to those questions after each presentation. We can, and at that point, probably Brian, if you have other updates, you can go ahead, and then we'll look to see if there were any questions about
absolutely
the MyPlus.
Yeah, in the MyPlus system, the other thing I wanted to touch on is when they were working on this migration for other industries, they had a fair amount of bumps in the road launching. You know, Michigan's real estate licensees were one of the last folks to be migrated over. I think we were the third or fourth wave in this process. And you know, it's been criticized, but I think we're in a good position to help the department improve the product. And it sounds like they're very receptive to the commentary that we've provided. They do have a number of Q&As and how-to instructionals that I will send over to Karen, and anybody who wants that information can have it disseminated from that point. It sort of walks you through the screens in a PDF format based on your particular search need. Again, though, the real issue that I think is most timely for us to work on with the MyPlus system rollout is making sure that your licenses are accurately depicted. You know, in the old system, you would look up a license and you would see every license they've ever had and what the status was of those specific license. Now we're seeing, depending on the specificity with which you search, you may not find anything at all. And that's where we want to make sure that they have the accurate data, they have the right affiliation with the brokerage, whether the individual's an associate broker that's running a branch. We want to make sure that that's all accurately depicted in the system before it gets too far down the road. So that's about all I've got on the MyPlus system.
We do have one question, Brian, popped
Great.
up, and it says, from Hillary, do you suggest removing an agent from our account when they leave, or wait for the transfer to happen?
Yeah, I think that that the transfer process is still the proper way to do it. You know, you can. I know that the new MyPlus system allows you to sort of add and connect. But until I hear otherwise from the department, I think you want to wait for the actual transfer to get finalized. But that's a good question, Hillary. I'll add that to the discussion points with Lara, because I know they fancy the new way that you can sort of connect agents with a particular brokerage and then obviously disconnect them as well as a real upgrade. But it does sort of confuse the way that things have been done in the past, especially since most of the transfers and changes have been done on paper over the last 2 months as a result of the migration and the shutdown. So I will follow up on that one, Hillary, but I think until we get real confirmation from the department. We want to make sure that we're doing things consistently with the way it's been done.
She says thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions right at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know if you had other information you wanted to share this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there was a question to touch on the NAR class action lawsuits. You know, as you're all more than well aware, there are two pending lawsuits on that impact NAR and the way MLSs operate. The one down in Missouri is pending, and it's in district court down there, federal. Both of them are in federal court, and then there's one in Cook County in Illinois. The basis of these lawsuits, as you probably have read, is that because of the MLS requirement that you put some form of compensation in, that it arbitrarily inflates what sellers ultimately pay on a commission. Obviously, we've argued from the start, and NAR continues to argue, that, you know, the notion of entering anything, it can be a nominal fee in that compensation field, that allows for negotiation, that allows for the ability for buyers to pay their agent if they choose to do so. I think the key, though, and NAR has been pushing this as sort of a public relations campaign, is to talk to your clients about exactly, you know, how you get paid, what your value proposition is. Last year, I think they had the slogan, you know, the last 2 years, the campaign, "This is who we are," and now the slogan is, I believe, "Find the R." The issue we're running into on the pendency here, though, is that the case down in Missouri, they did file a motion to dismiss that did not succeed. And really what that means is that, you know, when you file a motion to dismiss, you're trying to base your response to say there's no question of fact here. And NAR's argument has been that, you know, it's one thing for the plaintiffs to make an argument about this arbitrarily impacting what sellers pay on the sale of a home, but it's another when they don't understand how the MLS system works. And the contention for both motions to dismiss, the one that was not successful in Missouri and the one that's still pending in Illinois, is that there is nothing to see here, that in fact the plaintiffs just don't understand how the system works and how participants agree to work together. But it is not to the detriment of the client, rather it is to the benefit of the client. So we'll see what happens in Cook County in that particular case, whether or not they do in fact accept the motion to dismiss. That would certainly be a huge victory. But right now they're in the process of a lot of back and forth, a lot of motion practice, which often is the case with a class action lawsuit. But it's based on what NAR has said, is if they don't they don't succeed in having the case dismissed, there's very little likelihood for a settlement, because it goes at the heart of the system and the MLS, how it supports buyers and sellers. So we're kind of monitoring it. Like everything, this isn't something that happens, you know, month to month. This is actually, you know, a real long game, where we'll probably be looking at this case next year. I know there are certain MLSs that have already started to receive contacts. I believe that Michigan is no stranger to it. It's important, though, that whatever information that gets out there relative to the MLS rules, relative to processes and procedures, that they're accurate. I think that the danger here is that anytime you're out talking openly and flippantly to anybody who's asking the question, you don't want to be misarticulating or saying things that don't reflect the true spirit of the rules, and obviously what participants agree to when they join the MLS. And the second part of that is still continuing to make sure that your clients do understand the value proposition. I mean, obviously, most people understand that when they enter into a listing, you know, they're certainly going to pay for your service, but not everybody does understand exactly how buyers agents get paid and what the latitude is and how things get negotiated. And it is important, I think, just like Form K, when you describe agency responsibility and your disclosure of agency relationships, that's an important tool to explain exactly what you do. And when you're out there explaining agency to your clients and what the scope of agency means and the limits of your agency, I think that's important for a couple of reasons. It not only lays the foundation for your scope of agency, but it also impresses upon the individual that you're talking to what your value proposition is. The lengths that you can actually go to on their behalf. So we're going to keep monitoring the situation. The lawsuit is still very early, but we haven't heard too much from NAR other than the public relations campaign, which is still running. It's important to obviously, express to your client base exactly what your value proposition is, but I think it's also important not to alienate the process by getting out there and speaking when you're not authorized to speak on behalf of NAR and or any of the defendants in the case.
I think it's important to point out that Realcomp has not been officially named in this particular lawsuit. So we're paying attention as well, just like you are. And
Yes.
I know that there are some MLSs that have been named, and we don't happen to be one of those.
Yeah, no, it's from my understanding that they've sort of cast this net of geographic.
Correct.
But they haven't.
Correct. But they didn't say our name.
Nope, that's always good, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but I think as you go through the process, there are folks out there that are looking for information relative to the class action lawsuit. It's important not to discuss things that you don't have a full picture of, and I think that's whether it's working through Realcomp's counsel or whomever it might be, it's probably the number one concern is when people get out there and they're speaking without all the information. And to the point where the plaintiffs do have some fairly large brokers out there that have gone on record and said some pretty negative things about the systems that are in place, that is a concern. And I think that part of the issue that NAR is going to have to deal with is really clearly articulating what the MLS rule means and really how it benefits buyers and sellers. So
great information. I appreciate that, Brian. I don't see any questions. We'll give everybody a minute in case they want to ask anything, and did you have anything else you wanted to share today, or any interesting tidbits?
Those are the two topics that I had planned on talking about. Obviously, we've got the Michigan Realtors virtual convention coming up. We've tried to make the convention as exciting as possible in the virtual context. We thought it was really important to still roll out the content that we typically provide, like the annual legal update, which will be chock full of information. I think we ended up landing on 12 different topics this year.
Wow.
Which is a few more than years past. But that will be done in a virtual setting. It'll feature myself, Becky Jean, David Pearson, and Gail Anderson, so people you're familiar with. So we hope people will attend. And obviously, we want to make sure that we're responsive to the needs of membership. And when it comes to this LARA rollout, don't hesitate. You're not going to bother me if you send me an email directly that says, I've got agents who aren't showing up, or I've got agents that have applied and their license hasn't shown up yet. My job is to try and help connect those dots. So please utilize me as a resource on that front.
Do you want to tell everybody your email address, Brian, while we're on here?
It's really easy. It's bwestrin@mirealtors.com.
And we, Realcomp, are a virtual vendor at the Michigan Realtors Convention. So we try to always support that. It's always a great turnout, and we're happy to be a part of it again this year too. We're curious to see how it will work, but we're excited about it.
Yeah, we're curious too. All right, thanks for allowing me to come on board the Zoom today.
Well, thank you, Brian. And I don't see any questions. You're welcome to hang around if you'd like to hear everything else that we're talking about, or you can go about your day. Well, it's your choice.
Yeah, I'll mute myself and stick around for a bit.
Oh, well, as soon as I said that, I got a question. Oh, can we get that email again?
Carlina, it is BWESTRIN, so bwestrin at mirealtors.com.
Great. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is we've got some very exciting news about integration between Centerlock and ShowingTime. I'm going to wait for Fran to prepare us for that. I'm going to introduce you to Tammy Cummings. Most of you know Tammy. She's been at Realcomp for 20 years now. And Tammy is the she's the training manager and the product manager. So she's the one that knows all the ins and outs of all the systems that Realcomp offers. And today she's going to show you this new integration that's called Access by Appointment. When we originally, 2 years ago, started to launch the new lockbox system, one of the biggest complaints we had was that anybody could walk up to a door, and if they had the app on their phone and there was an electronic box on the house, they could open it at any time. And so now we have worked with ShowingTime for literally 2 years, between ShowingTime and Centerlock, to say we want to be able to have the agent schedule an appointment in ShowingTime. It'll send it to the box, and that box will open only for that person and only during the time that appointment has been set. And when Tammy's done, I'll give you the most exciting news of all about it. So Tammy's going to run you through what that looks like, just to give you a little brief overview. We hope that you'll like what you see. Many of you have been asking when this would be in place. So Tammy, I hand it over to you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and, Fran, I need to be able to share my screen. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, we're going to talk about, as Karen said, the lockboxes and the new Access by Appointment, or it's referred to as ABA feature. Excuse me. A note before we go into that, and that is that with the implementation of ABA, the use of cards to access lockboxes and the call before showing codes that had been used prior will be eliminated. So before we go into Access by Appointment, I wanted to talk about an enhancement that was put into RCO3, and that is that, I'm going to skip ahead to the next screen first and come back here. And that is when the serial number of a lockbox has been entered into RCO3, it will put on the RCO3 listing of your property a tip sheet, so that people that are using the CenterKey and CenterConnect access can click on that link and they will get a tip sheet on how to use it. So a lot of people had said they don't use as many lock boxes as they could because so many people call and ask them how to use it. Well, here right on your listing, there is a link to a tip sheet that you can direct people to. And to get that link to show up on your listings, you need to put your serial number of the lockbox that's been assigned to the property in RCO3 in your listing information. And it can be assigned directly from RCO3 as a part of putting in your listing or editing a listing. Or if you've already assigned your lockbox through the app or through the website, you can still come in here and assign the serial number to the listing, and that link will show up. And the way that you do that is to go into Edit, and right by where the Manage Photos link is for you to add photos, there's now a link that says assign and remove a lockbox. If you click on that, it will bring up a screen that lists all of the lockboxes that have been assigned to you. And you select that lockbox and click done. And that's all there is to assigning a lockbox in our CO3 or going back in and assigning the serial number to the listing. Now, how do you turn on ABA for your listing? You can turn it on through the website. And to do that, you go to the website and click the Listings tab. And when you go into there, you select the address that you want to assign this ABA setting to. Click on the address, and it takes you to the Edit Listing screen. And once this is enabled, another option will be added to the screen that says Enable Access by Appointment. And you simply click that checkbox and click Save Changes. At that point, Access by Appointment is enabled on that listing, and they must have an appointment through showing time in order to open that lockbox. If you prefer to turn that Access by Appointment feature on through the app instead of the website, you can do that by going to the My Lockboxes screen from the hamburger menu, the little 3 lines at the upper left-hand corner of the app, and you select Property Access Settings. Once you do that, you select the address that you want to edit, and these listings are coming in from a data feed from our CO3. So you select the desired address, and it walks you through some lockbox showing setup instructions, or options, sorry. The first one is showing instructions, things like knock first, remove your shoes, lock the doors, obviously. Whether there is or isn't an alarm, you do those and you click next, and it takes you to the next screen. The next screen is homeowners information. If they want to be notified via text when a showing begins or ends, you can put in their name and their phone number, and then click next. And these are the new screens that have to do with access by appointment. The first one on the left is when access by appointment is off, and you click the blue button at the bottom to turn it on. The screenshot on the right is when it's already on, if you want to turn it off. So at the top, in bold, it tells you whether it's currently on or off. And the button lets you do one or the other. When you are in a showing and you've opened the lockbox, there are some new screens that allow you to open the listing details. And this is, I've now opened a lockbox and I want to see what the dimensions are for the bedrooms, or I want to see what the dimensions of the living room. You can open the listing details from here, and you have the choice of viewing that through showing time or through HomeSnap. If you do select showing time, then it does require that you are able to log into the showing time app, and you also have to log into our CO3. If you use the HomeSnap integration for this, you don't have to have an additional login. And here's where you set up which program you want to use for that listing detail integration. You go to the same hamburger menu and select My Settings. And that's that same menu that we talked about before. And you can select either, you first turn it on, and you select either Home Snap or Showing Time as your choice of integration methods. When using Showing Time in their app to go from showing to showing, when the appointment is made through Showing Time and accepted, users will get a link in the Showing Time app to the CenterKey app to open the lockbox. So if you're using Showing Time and you're going from one showing to the next and using that mapping and all of the functionality in Showing Time, then when you get to the property with the CenterKey lockbox, it will give you a link to go ahead and open the CenterKey lockbox. You don't have to close out of Showing Time and then go into your apps and find Showing CenterKey and all of that. It'll give you a link right there so that you can open it quickly. This is the same screen that we saw before with the listing details option at the bottom. And what I want to point out here is the clock icon in the upper right-hand corner. And this is where you can manually end your showing. And we are recommending that everyone use this icon to end their showing when their showing is complete. It will come up again, so if you've closed out of CenterKey and you're not there anymore, it will open again when you open the lockbox to put the key back in. You will come to this screen again. So you want to click that clock icon, and that lets the homeowner and the listing agent know that you're done with your showing, and the homeowner can return to their home. If you have that up on your screen and you click the clock icon, it will ask you one more time if you need to return the key to the lockbox and give you a link that will go ahead and take you to the screen to allow you to open the lockbox. And that's it.
We already have some questions, Miss Tammy.
Okay.
First question is, CBS codes are typically good for non-member inspectors. What will replace it?
The CBS code was kind of an alternative to this access by appointment. Inspectors and anybody else that needs to access the property that is not a Realcomp customer should be using the CenterConnect app. And that in giving the authorization for the CenterConnect app, you tell at what time that those workers or inspectors should have access to the property.
So the call before showing codes will no longer be available, nor will the cards. The showing access cards will no longer work. And there's two MLSs around us that use those cards, one being Ann Arbor, the other being Southeast Border. We have notified both of them, and they have notified their members. They say they have very few agents that still use the cards, but just in case, we've let them know that they won't be able to access through that card. They need to have the CenterKey app or CenterConnect, excuse me, or a one-day code, which I know many of you are no longer providing, which is not a bad idea, but it's a preference that each broker can make. Excuse me. Next question from Mr. Patterson. Hi, Bart. This is Centerlock system website. Yes, it is, Bart. And I'm assuming this cannot be set as a default on lock boxes, and does this when you assign the box. It cannot be set as a default. We did talk to our friends at Centerlock about that yesterday. I will explain to you that testing of this functionality had to be done while none of you were in there looking at the lock boxes. So we had to test it at 6 a.m. On the times that we were testing to make sure it worked right. The access by appointment is attached to the listing, not the box. So it does have to be set up individually for each listing you want to use it for. This is a really great question. Will the notification, that's the notification of, I guess when the showing is done, be auto-populated, or will we have to put that in twice now, once in showing time and again in Centerlock?
If you can do one or the other. The showing time, it will not auto-populate from showing time. It is a part of the setup of the showing. So if you want them to be notified when that end of showing icon is clicked, then you will need to put that information into the Centerlock website or app to set it up.
So that means if they do want their seller to be notified, they have to put it into CenterKey, into the Centerlock web app, Tammy?
If they want them to be notified when that icon is clicked, it will have to go into the Centerlock website or app.
And it's not pulling that information over from showing time.
Correct.
We should make a note of that though, and talk to our friends at showing time and see if we can't add that to what's being shared.
Yep, got it.
Next question, change of subject. Can Brian tell us if a home has audio surveillance, does that have to be disclosed to buyers and buyer agents? That is actually in Michigan legislature right now, and they have not settled that one way or another. We get reports on that every month from our legal counsel. So I will ask for an update on where that is and see if we can't get that sent out. There were some issues and it was in our state court. So let me get you an update on that to all of you, and we'll send that out to you so that you have the most up-to-date information, because I don't know the answer to that right at the moment. And I believe Brian has left us. He went on to work. Michelle says, as a general practice, agents do not close the lockbox once they retrieve the key. They open the box, show the house, then replace the key and close it. This is more efficient and saves time. Why are they programmed assuming that agents close the box after retrieving the key? I don't know that that assumption is there. Is it, Miss Tammy?
No. As a general practice, it is better to close the lockbox, because there are times when if the lockbox is open too long, it will lock open, so you won't be able to close it without going through the open process again anyway to close it. And if somebody else comes for another showing, you want to make sure that they open the lockbox themselves too, and you don't give them the key if you're already in a showing. So we do recommend that you close the lockbox and then you reopen it again in order to put the key back.
So a contractor has to download an app. Well, that's kind of always been the case. Contractors can download Centra Connect. They only have to download it once, and then you will be able to set them up with access for as brief or as long as you want. It can go up to a week, I believe, or two. I'm not sure, but it's longer than an hour. You can set that up so that they have access. We are also talking with, I don't know that it would work for a contractor, but for our neighbors that are not using CenterKey, we're also talking to Showing Time and Centerlock on getting the Centra Connect to talk to each other, or at least have Showing Time be able to help you schedule those and set those codes for you like they do with your one-day codes sometimes. So we're not done. This is just the first step. So we're going to keep seeing what else we can do to integrate that information even more. This is, like I said, a first step, but this is a huge step. And we're hoping we see a lot more usage on the boxes because of this addition. Karen, is the access for one-day codes the broker choice? I'm told a seller must sign to say no one-day codes. We don't have a rule on that, Carol. What the rule says is the house must be available for showings. And if the house is available for showings through using the CenterKey or some other method, then I don't believe you can be accused or found guilty of not following the rule. The one-day codes are not as secure as what you might want through the lockboxes. We encourage everyone, if they are a Realcomp subscriber, encourage them to download CenterKey. It doesn't cost them anything, and it makes it so much easier moving forward. And again, for the neighboring agents that are not part of Realcomp, CenterConnect works fine there, and you'll be able to limit the time that they can use, that they can access the box. You don't get the information sent to you when you use one-day codes, so you don't have access to that, you know, who's opening it and closing and so forth. So that's why those are not really encouraged to use. And we are trying to work with our neighboring MLSs to provide them with information that they can send out to their subscribers to say, this is how easy it is. Download CenterConnect, and you only got to do it once, and then you'll be able to use that. It makes it easier for them too. So I'm not going to tell you, Carol, that you don't need your seller's approval. That probably is something you might want to check with your own counsel on, but we have not been told that that's necessary. Daryl, otherwise it's useless to click the end of showing clock on corner to notify showing it. Oh, this goes back to auto populating that field. We'll see what we can do there. If your seller wants to know that the showing is over, you only got to put it in there once, and then they'll be notified every time the showing is over, Daryl. Jeff, pardon?
And it does walk them through that screen. As soon as they turn on ABA, those screens that we saw are automatic. And so they just swipe from screen to screen. And so it will prompt them for that information.
Jeff asks, can we add the seller's info through the Centerlock app, or do we have to have them on the website? They can do it either way, on the website or the app, Tammy?
Yes, the screens that I showed were from the app.
Okay. Most agents do not close the box. Let's be honest, they are going to take the least amount of steps to accomplish a task. Well, I don't really know how to address that. We encourage them to follow the flow that we've put out there, because it's just, like I said, it's the best way for you to get that information that shows you when that box was opened and who opened it. We had buyers in a home last week without the agent. I certainly hope that you reported that to us. And this should help that immensely, Carol, that now you have to be the person who made the appointment, because that's the only person who's going to be able to open the box. So we're hoping that this is going to really put an end to that, at least as much as possible. If you're the one making the appointment, you're the one that can open the box, and only at the time that appointment has been set. So we're hoping that this really does put an end to that. I guess time will tell. Can we still move boxes between the agents? Yes, if you contact us, we can help you with that. And we can reassign them. I believe we have to do that for them. Is that correct, Tammy? Do we have to do the
Transfer?
Yep.
The transferring of lock boxes, yes,
Yep.
we have to do that.
And we can certainly do that for you. That's not a problem.
We don't have to have the lockbox with us to do that, so they don't have to bring it here. We just
Right.
need the serial number and who it's going to go to.
ETA and when this is going live, oh, that's going to be the best part. And so we can train the agents and admins, absolutely. And we'll have some training classes that will be online that we can walk through this. We're already putting those together, and I'll give you the answer to your other question in 1 second. Carol, can we get copies of those screens? Yes, you'll get a copy of this entire presentation, Carol. We're going to put it on our YouTube site, and we'll make that available to you. Now, somebody did put a question on chat. What about the other way if we want to access the MI Realsource lockbox? We are asking MI Realsource to provide us with information on how our agents can open those. At this point, I don't have that information. I don't know, Tammy, do you know how that works the other way?
I don't.
We have asked that they provide that, and we would be happy to publish that. I know Fran was looking for that from all of our neighboring MLSs, many of which use Centerlock, so we're able to help there. But we'll continue to try to gather all that information to make it as easy as possible. You will have firsthand knowledge even before the board, who meets tomorrow morning. They don't have this information yet. Yesterday was our 4th or 5th early morning testing that we did. And thank you, Dawn. And we are happy to announce that all of the tests went without a hitch. And we're about to announce that the launch date for this will be October 6th. So a week from Tuesday, this will be made available to everyone. We'll make sure that we get plenty of information out first and walk you through the steps. Will it work with Ann Arbor in the future? Yes, because they use Centerlock, Bart. This is not a Realcomp exclusive, so they should be looking to do the same thing. Tammy, do you know if it would work now with somebody making an appointment through Showing Time from Ann Arbor? I'm sorry, you're muted, Miss Tammy.
Of course I am. Ann Arbor lockboxes should work the same way they have previously, because they won't have the
ABA. So once they get it turned on, then it will work with them, for them, just like it does with us. We're hoping. And I have made Tom Renkert there aware of these changes, and I'm sure he's anxious to do the same. So we will certainly work with them to see how quickly we can get that established for them. And I know that Dawn had said that in answer to the question about the MI Real Source lock boxes, they open directly from the Showing Time app. And I did not know that. So thank you for that. So October 6th is the date. You'll get all the information in advance. You'll get copies of these slides. We'll have training for all your admins. And then we'll get this launched. Again, it will be have to be assigned per listing, not per box. Once you assign it to the box, it's only on that listing. So the next time you want to assign it, you'll have to do the same. And not seeing any other questions on, thank you so much, Tammy, on any other questions on that. I will tell you that we have literally worked for the last 2 years once we got the Centerlock boxes, because we knew that this was an important part. And there are many other MLSs, not only around the country, but we have friends up in Canada that are just waiting for us to say, it works well. And so we're excited to share that with them. Let me just check that last question. Okay, we've already answered that question. Okay, next we want to talk a little bit about some recent motions that were passed by the Board of Governors. And I'm going to do things a little bit differently, and I'm going to go to the most controversial one first. And that was, we put out the notice yesterday that the board had decided, based on feedback we were getting from some of our appraiser customers and from some agents that were saying it's difficult to complete CMAs or appraisal reports when agents are going in and deleting photos on the listings. And so the board made a very dramatic, passed a very dramatic motion that said from now on, nobody can delete any photos on any listing. And I'm happy to say that there were many of you who read that and let us know that that was totally unacceptable. So that information has been sent back to our board. They have a meeting already scheduled tomorrow morning at 9:30, and this is one of the agenda items. So I have a feeling you're going to see that this is going to change in some way. So we will we'll put something else out once they reconsider this and see if we can't do a better job of figuring out how to fix the problem and not cause a bigger problem, which is what it looks like we did. So I'm happy to address that one first. We got a lot of emails yesterday and a lot of phone calls, and I'm happy for that. I'm grateful for that. So that information's already been shared with the board, and they'll be reconsidering this tomorrow morning. I'll watch for questions. The next one was the coming soon policy revision. When NAR put out the Clear Cooperation Policy 8.0, it was intended, I'm going to read the way that they have worded it, it was intended to apply to properties that were under exclusive listing, which is an exclusive agency or exclusive right to sell, and for sale residential properties. And you know, the clear cooperation policy, the one that says within 1 day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit it to the MLS for cooperation with other MLS participants. From that birthed the coming soon policy. And we were getting some feedback saying, if I could just ask you to put your questions in the Q&A, please. It's just easier for us to grab them from there. We were getting comments from commercial brokers and from leasing management companies that said, hey, when we have apartments that come up for lease, we know that in 6 months this apartment's going to be empty. We have a responsibility with the owners of the building, and that's a private responsibility they have, to start marketing that property. And now you're telling us we can't market it because we can't send it into Realcomp. So we went back to NAR and said, how does this work with that current policy? And they said, well, it was never intended to apply. It was never meant to be mandatory for leases or commercial property or properties like, how did we describe that? Properties that are multi-property. I'm going to say it exactly the way it was worded so I don't confuse things. New construction developments with multiple properties. So having the coming soon apply to those 3 categories is an individual choice of each MLS. And the user committee and the Board of Governors agreed that we would remove the requirement for all 3 of those categories from the coming soon status. So if somebody who has a lease and they want to put it in as a coming soon, they have to follow the same rules as any other coming soon, but it's not mandatory that they not market the property. They can market the property ahead of time and not put it in coming soon. And same goes for the commercial properties and the developments with multiple properties. So that was also approved and has been added to the rules. And I'll still watch for questions. The third one is the HomeSnap app. We had some suggestions saying, why don't you put the bedroom and bathroom locations and dimensions on HomeSnap? And that change has been done. They have now added those. And we did get a question that says, why not just make photos non-public? The reason we don't make them non-public is because they are sent out in IDX feeds and third-party portal feeds. So they are made public. We're looking at some other options as part of the discussion that we'll have tomorrow. I don't want to throw too much out there because I'm not sure yet what the board will want to do, but sit tight and let your agents know if they're coming to you saying, we don't like this change. Just let them know it's going to be discussed again tomorrow. So one of the last things I want to talk about before we open it up for other things that you might want to talk about. Many of you, I'm sure, saw yesterday. Oh, wait. One other question. Coming soon. Oh, well, we have somebody who doesn't like coming soon. If the buyer can't see the home for 5 days, they will call the listing agent. You know, coming soon was one of the hardest things that we had to incorporate. We had no way, when NAR said that within 24 hours of a listing being advertised, it has to come into the MLS, we didn't have any place to put them. There was just we couldn't do anything with them. And so that's why that category was put in place. If you have suggestions on how we can make it better, certainly I would love for you to send those to me and let us look at it, and we'll see if we can't make some improvements on it, because we want to make it as good as possible. But it's been tweaked a little bit here and there, but if you have other suggestions, we would love to hear them. Yesterday was a giant announcement from our friends at Zillow, and they have announced that as of 2021, they will become a real estate brokerage company. Fortunately, I had an opportunity to speak with our contact at Zillow to say, okay, tell me what that means. And this is how it was explained to me. The Zillow website that you see today will become an IDX site, and they will be hiring brokers in every state that will list and sell real estate. Mainly, they will list the houses that they buy through their iBuyer program, is what I'm told. They will list them on the MLS to sell. They'll offer cooperation and compensation. And Zillow's site will now become an IDX site. No, it will not be mingled. The data will not be mingled with for sale by owners. They have to follow the same IDX rules that all of you do for your own sites. It certainly has caused a lot of chatter out there in the world. And I don't know all of the details yet. I'm getting pieces of it through different communications, which aren't all the same. But when I talked to this gentleman, he said that what they're looking to do is they'll have a broker. That broker will list properties. He'll have a real estate license, he or she, and they'll get an IDX feed, and they'll put the IDX feed onto Zillow, as that will be their site now. It will not be the Zillow.com that you see today. So I'm going to stop there because I have a feeling there'll be a lot of questions about that one. That all just broke yesterday. And I'm told that that will take effect in 2021. What they're telling me is they're finding it harder to compete with other sites like Open Door and Redfin, who have a similar type of setup where they have a broker in the area to get an IDX feed and put the data into their site. Now, will you as a broker be able to say, I want all my listings on IDX, but not this IDX site or this IDX site? Unfortunately, no. You have that choice today to put your listings on Realtor.com or Zillow, but that will go away when they become a brokerage and their site now becomes an IDX site, which is, in my opinion, one of the reasons they're doing it. I think they're seeing that they're not getting all the listings because not everybody wants to have their property listed on Zillow. And so we will have to be very careful about the questions we ask and answer, because we certainly don't want to look like we're ganging up. I guess the official word is colluding. I like ganging up better. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can. I'm sure you'll be seeing more about this. Like I said, it just broke yesterday. So I'll stop talking for a minute, and you can tell me, let me know if you have some questions. Here comes one. Will the Zestimate feature go away? That's a good question. Probably not. They're not required to. It becomes an AVM, an automated valuation model. So I don't know if they'll still call it a Zestimate, but I didn't hear any information on whether or not they would be removing that. So I can't answer your question yet. We'll continue to monitor, and I will ask that of our rep at Zillow to see if that's part of the plan. I'm not sure they know all their plan yet, to be honest with you. But that is a good question. Will it be called Zillow Online or a new company name? I'm told that the brokerage name will be called Zinc, which is Zillow Incorporated. Again, that's just information that was shared with me as of yesterday. It could change, but that's what I was told. I think that Zillow, the website, we have rules on IDX, as you know this, that your website name has to reflect your company name. So they have to follow the same rules as all of you do with your IDX sites. It will be no different. So they will be giving up all the revenue they receive from selling leads to agents. Well, they're going to have to, because that cannot be part of the IDX sites. So they're going to have to completely change their business model to generate income elsewhere, which is why I think they're becoming a brokerage, because their iBuyer program will be buying those properties, listing them, and then making them available for sale. So they will have to through the IDX site. They can't sell leads through an IDX site. Is that right, Miss Tammy? I don't believe so.
That's correct.
Okay. That is not part of what they can do. is it possible they will continue running the regular Zillow site too? They won't be getting the data in that way, so they cannot, like they won't be getting a data feed for the regular Zillow, and they're telling me that that will be replaced by the IDX site. Now that's what I'm told, that they will not have both of them. It's going to be tricky to see what they do with Trulia, because they'll have to have a separate broker for Trulia with a separate IDX feed and a separate everything if they want to use the data over there too. They just learned that from our IDX compliance person, Sarah, and I know many of you know Sarah. She is the most awesome employee ever, and knows the IDX and vows and all the internet data display inside and out. And she had many conversations with the rep yesterday to say, here's what you can do and can't do. So Trulia will have to have its own company, its own brokerage with its own feed, if they want the data to go there too. So that's going to be interesting to see how they handle that. I think that was a surprise to them yesterday. Unfortunately, as an IDX vendor, then they get all this whole data. Yep. As a brokerage, can they apply to Realcomp for an IDX direct feed? Yeah, they'll get the same feed that all of you get, and they'll get the sold data. They'll get everything. Zillow becomes an IDX site just like yours. If you have sold data on your site, they'll have it on theirs as well. So it will become the same thing. And it's clear Zillow can do whatever they want. No one's going to stop them. Well, okay. I'm not sure I know how to respond to that. I cannot tell them if they're a brokerage that they can't have access, and I cannot tell them if they're a brokerage that they can't have an IDX feed, unfortunately. And I think you all understand that. I know it does make things difficult. We'll have to see how it plays out, I guess, and watch it very closely. How will that affect us as agents and businesses? Well, you know, if I was going to oversimplify it, which this is not simple, but if I were going to, I would tell you it's another brokerage coming into town and setting up shop and so forth. It's their history that makes it a little more difficult. They will become a broker. They will maybe have agents, I don't know, but they'll at least have a broker. They'll have listings, because in order to get an IDX feed, you have to be in the business of listing and selling real estate. So they have to play by the same rules as everybody else. And they can get an IDX feed, and they can put that data on the Zillow IDX site. So I don't, unless you have other arrangements with Zillow, like you're a premier agent, something like that, then that may change for you, because they shouldn't have premier agents anymore. But otherwise, I don't see how it would change for you, other than it's another brokerage that now has listings and an IDX site. It just happens to be called Zillow. I don't mean to make light of it, because it's not. And I know that it's going to be interesting to watch this. Apparently they saw the writing on the wall and thought we need a change in our model. And this is the change that they decided to make. So I don't see any other questions. That is all we had for, we'll talk a little bit about, no, wait. Coming soon question, is it possible to shorten the coming soon timeframe to 2 days? Everything is possible. You should send that in as an enhancement request, and we'll take it through the channels. That 5 days was not reached easily. It was 30, it was 10, it was 5, it was 3. I mean, it was all over the place before it landed on 5 business days. So if you want to send that in as an enhancement request, we will take that to the MLS user committee, and they will make a recommendation to the Board of Governors. Both meet every month. So you can go to the corporate site and fill out an enhancement request there, call support. They can walk you through that. One of the other things we were going to mention, if we have time, which we do seem to have a little bit of time, is what's Realcomp doing with the changes in the COVID, so forth. Okay, hang on, let me go back because we had a couple other questions. So Zillow will not be able to sync our listings in Zillow. I would think not if they're not a brokerage. I'm not sure what you mean by that. There won't be two Zillow sites. So if you're saying that they won't be able to sync it from the IDX site to the national site, there won't be two sites. There'll only be one. So I think I'm answering your question, but I'm not sure. Next question, is Zillow trying to be a worldwide MLS? Well, they're a national portal, just like Realtor.com, just like Homes.com, just like other national portals you see out there. I'm sure they probably aspire to be bigger, maybe worldwide, but their site is no good if it doesn't have data, so they have to get the data somewhere. And right now they're going to get it directly from the MLSs, which they already do. Now they're just going to get it in a different format through IDX. So they can have a worldwide site, but again, it's no good unless they have data on it. Is it possible we can restrict the listing agent from showing and selling during the coming soon period? That is part of the rule, that they're not supposed to show it when it's in the coming soon period. And there are penalties for that. So if you know that is happening, you should report that. And we will follow up on it. Pardon me. We will follow up on that. So if the rule does say there's no showings during the coming soon period. You can't schedule appointments for that time. And so if you're seeing that happening, please send that to us and we will follow up. We are now syncing all our listings to them. If they can still sync through our MLS, then what makes other websites not do the same thing? Again, I'm not sure I understand your question. We do provide Zillow with a feed of listings today for offices where the broker has said, please release my listings to Zillow. That's the way it works today. We do that because we as a whole can have a little firmer policies about what they do and don't do. So yes, we do send our data to Zillow if you tell us you want that data to go. Now what happens when it's an IDX feed, if you participate in IDX by either receiving data or giving data, then if you receive it, you have to give it. And okay. I guess I'm not explaining it very well. If Zillow's a brokerage, why would they still be able to sync our listings on the Zillow website? Because the Zillow website will become a Zillow IDX site. It's not a Zillow website per se. Now it's IDX. If you have an IDX site, it becomes like your IDX site. So as a brokerage, they're entitled to an IDX feed if they have to follow the rules, and then they can put that data on their IDX site. So that's why they would be able to put the listings there. There's not going to be a Zillow website and a new Zillow IDX site. It's just one. And it will be the Zillow IDX site, is the way it's explained to me right now. I'll watch for more questions. I'll talk a little bit about the changes we've made to meet the, they won't have a, pardon me, let me go back. Board needs to sell Zillow, take Fsbos off. They will not link for sale. They will not be able to link for sale by owners with your listings on an IDX site because that's not part of our rules. So that will happen when they become an IDX site. They may have them, but they can't integrate them in with yours. There's no merging of that data. Some of the things we're doing to get through this COVID-19 period. Our offices are still officially closed because according to the governor that we're not able to open until we're in phase 5 and we're still in phase 4. You can see that I'm in the office. There are a few of us that are in the office during the week, mostly on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We are here also to hand out lock boxes. If you're in need of lock boxes, you can make an appointment, and we have curbside drive-by pickup service. And Tiffany or Stacy or somebody else will be outside waiting for you. And when you pull up, they'll hand you your box. You can also turn them in that way. So we're trying to make that as easy as possible. But as a whole, the offices are not completely open. Again, we have people that are here throughout the, sporadically throughout the week. Almost this whole building is empty. The second floor here is all Google, and I don't even know if they're going to come back. But so we're following all the protocols we're supposed to follow with cleaning and keeping our staff safe. Hopefully when you call support, you have no idea that they're not sitting at their desk here. You're still getting the same quality service that you've come to expect, and we'll continue doing that. We've gone to mostly online training, which has proven to be an awesome change for us and you, because the amount of people that we're training has doubled. In some months, it's actually tripled. I think that's a fair statement, is it not, Tammy? So that's been working extremely well. So we're here for training. If you have some special requests you want to make for classes and so forth, you need to let us know, and we're happy to accommodate whatever it is you need. I'm going to go back to a couple other questions. Is it correct to think of Zinc as just another parentheses huge and parentheses broker? Yes, that is the way that they would be another broker. How huge they are, we'll have to wait and see. So why is the board still allowing our listings to sync to the Zillow website with Fsbos? The public websites, again, it isn't the board that's allowing it. It's individual brokers that are saying, go ahead and put my listings on Zillow. If the format of how Zillow places the listings, including the for sale by owners, is not something you are interested in being involved in, then you should not put your listings on there. And if we make it really easy, there's a little box that you just uncheck to say, don't send our listings to Zillow. Next question, you're saying they're a brokerage. Well, why are they allowed to do this? Well, are you asking why they're allowed to be a brokerage? They got licensed in every state, and they got a real estate license, and they they met all the terms of what's required through the licensing in each state, so they can open up a brokerage. I want to give you the answers that you want, but I don't have the answers that you want. So I can only give you the answers that I know. To my understanding, when I was reading on the iBuyer site, they will be offering much lower fees or commissions to sellers. I will not touch that one. We have no rules on fees or commissions, and any of you can offer whatever fees or commissions you choose. All the agents Zillow recommend on their website have to be their employees or others associated with them, otherwise has to go through referral. I believe that may be how it works today. It won't work that way because they'll have their own broker to do the listing of those properties, Bill. So they won't have to reach out to say, do you want to list the property? That will change because they'll put them through their own company. Can I start doing the same thing as Zillow? If you're asking me if you can start doing the same thing Zillow does today, if you want to open a national portal, sure. Anybody can, I guess, if you have the resources, you can open a national portal. Again, that will change come next year when they're an IDX site, which I'm going to assume you already are doing the same thing, which is listing and selling real estate and then putting the IDX information on your site. So yes. Can we make Move in Michigan so user-friendly that people want to use it still Zillow? Oh, what a great question. We are in the process of doing a lot of changes on Move in Michigan. It's kind of been the forgotten child. We haven't really done a lot of enhancements there because there are so many other sites available. But Move in Michigan is yours because it's part of Realcomp. So we are making some changes there. We're looking at other sites to see what works well, what doesn't work well, and you'll see some changes there in the very, very near future. Thank you for asking that. That'll make Fran very happy because that's Fran's baby, and I know she wants that to be the tool that you really want to use. So those are all the updates I have for you today. I don't see any other questions. Can I start charging other agents like Zillow to charge other agents to receive leads like their premier agent? You cannot do that as a real estate You cannot use the Realcomp data as a real estate agent to do that, as a separate third-party company that set up a separate website like theirs. Your business model would be your business model. It would be up to you. It would be up to you to get the data. So you'd have to go to the brokers to say, can we have your data? So why is Zillow getting away with it? I don't really know how to answer you. They are not yet a real estate brokerage. When they become a real estate brokerage, they have to follow the same rules that you follow. Right now, they're not. They're a national portal, and they have their business model of how they make income, and you decide if you want to include your listings on there. If you don't want to include them on there, we won't send them. So they don't have to follow MLS rules right now because they're a national company. They're not a brokerage yet. Is Realcomp working on a new app? We are not. We are not working on a new app. I know you probably all know that Go MLS is going away. And so we are encouraging you to either turn to HomeSnap or Remind's app. For us to build an app would be a lot of time and resources, and I'm just not sure it's the best use of our time and resources. We thought Go MLS was a good solution. However, we've learned quickly that CoreLogic, who owns Go MLS, has put little money into that, and so that's why we've decided not to support it anymore. And Kimberly says she hopes we reconsider the decision to eliminate it. You know, it's kind of a joint decision between Realcomp and CoreLogic because CoreLogic is the owner of that app. They have another app that they're replacing it with called MLS Touch that at some point may go to the user committee to take a look at. But right now we're suggesting that you look at HomeSnap or you look at Remind's app. If you look at those and you say, well, here's what's missing, let us know what's missing, and we'll go out there and start looking at others that may be able to provide what you want. It's very expensive to develop an app and maintain it. And I'm not sure that with all of them out there, it's the best use of your money. So that's why we've not done that, and we've looked at others that were already out there. Bill says so Zillow can put its listings on Zillow, not the MLS. No, they would be on the MLS, Bill. That's how they would get them to their IDX site. Their listings would have to go into the MLS. So they might have more houses listed than MLS. Feels like a plan to replace MLS, just my 2 cents. They have to put the listings in the MLS, have to follow the same rules as you do. They have to. That should solve itself. If Zillow isn't a brokerage yet, how are they able to sync our listings? Again, they are a vendor and they get the listings because you send them to them. How are they able to sync our listings? They're able to publish the listings because you as a brokerage have decided to send your listings to them. And yes, they are considered a vendor. Hillary says, I love HomeSnap. Oh, yay. Well, I have to say that HomeSnap is an awesome company to work with. They have been, and HomeSnap came about through the broker portal, which was a group of brokers and MLSs that got together and said, let's make our own national site. This was probably about, I'm going to go 5 or 6 years ago. And they were looking at who could provide the better back end and ended up with HomeSnap. So they are very conscious of the wants and needs of the brokers because they're the ones that kind of sat behind there and said, here's how we want it to look. So, it is a good site. Some say it's too much information. Some say not enough. So, but take a look if you haven't looked at it before. One last question on Zillow. So any of us can become a vendor and have a website like Zillow. If you have the resources in terms of finances and knowledge and can put that together, absolutely you can do the same thing. It doesn't automatically give you access to the data that you have to get from the individual brokers if you want to have the data on the website. I knew the Zillow thing was going to be very controversial. I knew it, and I hesitated because I didn't have all the information yet, but I think it's important that you know what's going on out there. And so that's all I have. You know, we had our first town hall meeting last Thursday. I think we ended up at the high point with 167 agents participating, and it was to talk about the ABA and to give the demo of that. And so if you have suggestions on what you'd like to see in the future for the town hall meetings, we'd like to make those available to you that you can then show in your office meetings and share with your agents. So you let us know if you have some suggestions. Tom, are there circumstances such as violations where IDX privileges can be revoked to a broker? Yes, they are, and yes, they have been. If they have to follow the rules or that data is immediately turned off. Again, I know that when I say Sarah's name, some of you say, oh yeah, we know Sarah. She checks those sites all the time. She is on top of that, and if they are not in compliance, she will shut them down and turn the data off. And one step further, if the data gets turned off, they have to remove all the data they already have. Very informative. Well, great. I hope so. I hope so. This is a really touchy one. It was a hard one to talk about, but thank you for that. And so is the board, the MLS, still allowing Zillow to keep their vendor website Zillow? It will go away when their Zillow IDX site arrives. They will not have two sites. There will only be one. The current Zillow will be replaced with the Zillow IDX site. So there's just going to be the one. Now that's the way it's explained to me. So hopefully that, and I got a yay for that. Yay. I hope that helps. So if there aren't any other questions, again, we'd love for you to give us some suggestions of things you'd like to share with your agents that we can help you with. We can schedule the town hall meetings. The one we had was in the evening. We did it from 7 to 8:30. We've asked what time is best. You can go get those. You can get this one, and you can get the other town hall meeting that we did that you can then show to your agents. And it was all about lockboxes. A lot of questions. I think we answered 145 questions about the lockboxes. So it was really, really good. We felt like we shared a lot of good information. So if there are no other questions, which I'm not seeing any, I want to thank Tammy as usual. Tammy and I chuckle that we make a really good team because I'm not good at following PowerPoints, and she can jump around with me, and it's really nice. And of course, Fran Green, who sits behind the scenes there and make sure everything runs smoothly. And I'm so appreciative for Fran. So thank you all. And we'll see you next time at our next broker breakfast. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.